grave.
When the
and,
moon hits your skin and you're a werewolf boy.
That's
Amore.
Resurrection. Welcome to the Burnt or Buttered podcast.
Quick movie reviews.
I'm Stetson.
And I'm Toast.
And we have an interesting film to talk about today.
That we do. Today we'll be discussing In the Lost Lands, starring Milla Jovovich and Dave Bautista. You might recognize Milla Jovovich from Resident Evil, which the director, Paul W.S. Anderson, also wrote and directed. Which explains a lot because this movie feels like a Resident Evil movie, but instead of zombies, well, the zombies are overzealous Christians and actual demons.
Yes. And then you have Dave Bautista, unlikely hero / villain in, whatever way you want to look at him. Just a guy
he'll throw you for a loop.
Just a guy that does not care. This movie feels like Resident Evil meets Red Dead Redemption, which also meets Call of Duty Zombies, which then also meets Assassin's Creed.
But if you take all that away, what you've got is Resident Evil meets Red Dead Undead Redemption.
So this movie is about a witch and also about a cowboy that doesn't give an F about anything, but also kind of does.
Maybe there's more to him than meets the eye.
And so the movie starts with this witch getting hung by the overzealous religious cult that is in this world of the Lost Lands. This witch is strangely powerful, and then she is requested to do something from a bystander or somebody of this world, and hitches her wagon to Dave Bautista's character to go on an epic journey to accomplish the goal.
Yeah, epic. I mean, so many transition scenes and maps were shown, and
so many sunsets of them riding horses.
Oh my goodness.
that are silhouetted out.
So many shots with an anamorphic lens, and the sun behind you.
Yeah, I was totally thinking that too. Like the anamorphic lens was a staple of this film for sure. Yeah. And I was like, how many times are they gonna use that lens? It was interesting and it felt cool, but it felt like they were trying to do like Mad Max. It was trying to feel like a Mad Max-ish feeling.
Yeah.
But didn't really hit home.
Yeah. Yeah. Which brings us to Into the Butter, or Behind the Butter.
Behind the Butter, where we will talk about
there will be spoilers.
A little bit in the synopsis. Not a lot. Not enough that you really know what's going on. So don't get too mad at us.
We told you less than the trailer does.
The trailer tells you a lot more. Dave Bautista himself tells you so much more than we just told you. So let's get into Behind the Butter and really talk about this guy.
Yeah, so like you were saying with the anamorphic lenses, at first I thought, oh, this is really cool, like it's shot well, but they kept using the exact same things, and so by the end of it, all the things that I thought were cool at the beginning of the movie were overplayed and kind of annoying, honestly.
Yeah. The beginning of the movie, I was going back and forth in my head on liking it, not liking it, liking it, not liking it. And then I constantly came back to the idea of looking at it through the lens of a video game. I was like, this has to be a video game, or this is written as a video game or something like that, because every single scene in this film felt like a cutscene from a video game. every single one of them. The dialogue, everything around it, what the characters did in the scene. It was like you did this epic battle on yourself as playing as the player, and then you're finally beating the boss, and the cutscene happens, and you're like clicking X and O and A.
You're holding X to skip.
Well, like I'm talking like at the final boss where it's just like, it pops up and you have to click X and then you have to click O, or you have to click triangle or whatever, to like finish out the scene where like you're chopping off someone's head or something like that. It's just like X, you take out the guy. That's what it felt like to me, and I was like, I kind of like that, at the beginning. But then, like you said, it just keeps on happening over and over and over again to where you get so tired of this way of storytelling. By the end, you just don't really care.
Yeah. And then they had the timer. So a very important plot point is that this all has to be done before the full moon, which is going to happen in 7 days. And so each day that passes, they show you the timer, which some days felt like they lasted a really long time, and other days I was like, that's all you're doing today? You keep moving, guys.
Yeah. And with that, like the timer just felt like it was never going to get done. Like it was slow. It was so slow that you're just like every single time a day passed, you're just like, oh my God, we got 2 freaking days left or 3 days left. And then the way that they show this map, what really pissed me off is the religious people have a train, and these people have horses. And for some reason, somehow and the map shows this train track straight through this world. Yeah. Like, it's just a straight shot. There's no like weaving or around, like going up and down and like taking time on the train. It's just a straight shot. And somehow they always are ahead of this train. Somehow they're so fast that they're just way past this train when the train's moving freaking light speed.
Even though their entire strategy was, let's follow the train tracks, it'll be faster. But somehow the train is slower than them on the train tracks.
On the train tracks that's moving like at a very quick pace. And that's what pissed me off. I was like, this makes no sense. This train either is breaking down every city that they're in, or
which they did not show.
They did not show, or it's just so unrealistically challenged where it's just like nothing happened to the train track. Like, if they would have shown, like a building falling down and like falling on the train track and
something
delaying it. Yeah, delaying it where they have to get out all the religious people and like clear this train track. And then we see the train track cleared and they're like, okay, now we're back at them again. None of that happened. Like, it just was so unrealistically slow that these horses could somehow like outpace this train forever. And even the main character, the witch, she outruns the train for like a long time, for probably like, it seemed like at least 200, 300 yards.
She did not seem like she was moving fast, but she covered a lot of ground. I thought it was going to be another illusion where she was never on the track, but then she was. I felt like that was actually a good time. You could have used the illusion.
That would have been really, really smart, but it was actually her. And then she just jumps off this train track into nothingness, falls like 100 and something feet, and for some reason, this person is able to catch her mid-air with one arm that doesn't get ripped off her entire body, falling at 100 miles an hour.
And they're using a support that looks like it's already been ripped apart.
How did he get on the support?
Dude,
did he just like hop off and land on it, and somehow just like he was perfectly in the right spot for her to jump at full speed? Which, just thinking about it logically, as someone that jumps off things, she's going to travel way past that from that jump. Like,
that trajectory didn't make any sense.
No, she's not going to fall straight down. Like, she's running at full speed. She's going
that
to like
speed she was running at. She's outrunning a train. She's got to be moving like 55 to 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, and with these people that are taking this train down the train tracks, how did they not know that the train ends right there? How did they know that the tracks don't just end? Like,
it was on the map.
You have a freaking train on the map. It shows that the train tracks end.
Broken. Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get how they like were so focused on this witch that they somehow just forgot. Like, no one's been that far before on the train that they use pretty often.
I was also confused about the train why do they have a train if nobody goes beyond the wall? Like,
Yeah, what is the purpose of the train? Like, to go to the trading post that no one ever goes to?
yeah.
And like,
There really didn't seem to be any reason to go to the Lost Lands unless you're after a magical creature. Yeah.
well, and obviously there was like huge battles or whatever for, the werewolf that is John Bautista that conquered all these people, killed all of them. But then he's just like, when he's human, he's just this normal guy.
Right.
And I thought it was going to be an interesting thing that they did where he turned human at the full moon. So he was like almost always like a werewolf. And then when the full moon comes, it's like a reverse.
Oh, you thought it'd be easier.
So that's
to
where
get
that
them.
she could kill him because that's when he's at his weakest, is when he's human.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that will be interesting because what are the chances you have this giant battle and like everyone knows that there's a werewolf or a shapeshifter that like can destroy your entire army by himself basically, and we're just going to plan to
Show
attack on the full moon.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we just wait a day?
Because them's the rules, buddy.
Why don't we just wait a day and then we don't have to go against the werewolf?
You don't understand magic. But speaking of magic, it actually just felt to me like this could be a continuation of Resident Evil because her name in Resident Evil is Alice, and her name in this one was Gray Alice. She's just an upgraded wizard.
It's either pre-Resident Evil or post-Resident Evil, where she becomes just Alice, you know, for Resident Evil, or it's like a twin sister or something like that.
Or a copy, a clone. You know, they do that in Resident Evil. But
Yeah. She comes out as a double.
Yeah.
Like, she's playing both characters at the same time.
It's another double movie.
She's like, oh my God. She's like, yeah, my cousin's here now. And it's just Alice from Resident Evil.
This is White Alice.
And like her thing where she couldn't say no to anybody when they wish something was kind of stupid. I can't refuse, you know. And I feel like anybody that knows that can just use that to their advantage. But then also the way that she grants the wishes is in the worst way possible that you could ever like have. And it's just like, kind of be careful what you wish for because you might not like what you get type idea.
Like rather than a witch, it really seemed like she was a genie. You know, she talked about how she was cursed and everybody that is around her gets hurt. But it's literally like she could say no. But she refuses no one, and then the people that, you know, she cares about get hurt. But if she was a genie, to me it would make more sense because genies can't say no.
Man, like her skinning the werewolf alive was pretty crazy. Like that idea of like, okay, I'm going to grant your wish by skinning you alive, knowing that this queen isn't going to put on your skin to become a werewolf. And then magically, like, when the moon hits your skin, it's just going to, like, float back into the grave.
When the moon hits your skin and you're a werewolf boy.
That's
amore.
Resurrection. But like, to the credit of the director, I do think that this movie will become a video game, and a video game that will be probably pretty fun to play. Like, I do think that this world and the creation of the world, the elements that were in it would be a fun thing to explore as a person playing a video game, and have side quests and go to the trading post and have different things that you're doing there, you know, playing the werewolf and having the ability to change into a werewolf when you need to in certain scenarios and things. I do think that this movie plays well to a video game. I just think that they probably should have done it in the reverse order.
Video game first, build the audience, and then
let the video game live, let it be really fun, and have the things of the video game be as cheesy as it is in the movie. And then when it gets to the movie,
you're
you
okay
like
with it.
Yeah, because you're like, that's the character I know. Like, that's the character I played, and that's like what he does, and that's like, you know, how he speaks, you know.
Well, and it is based on a short story by George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones. I wish that maybe he had more input on the script or, or something, but
The script was weak in a lot of different ways. It was just too cheesy. And like the one character that I really, really disliked was the henchman of the religious cult.
the main woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just annoyed me so much. I don't know what it was about her, but just her character in general was I don't believe it. I don't like it. I don't want it.
Yeah. I didn't mind her too much. I felt like any fight scene that involved those Christians, I was like, they're moving exactly like the Resident Evil zombies. They climbed like zombies. They moved like they ran like zombies. Everything just looked like zombies when they were on screen. And as interesting of a thought as that is, I just didn't feel like it really fit, a real human being.
Yeah. And the side stories between, the supreme leader, his wife, the knight, and then the leader of the religious cult just felt like it was kind of forced in there. It really didn't feel like it added that much, and it didn't feel kind of original at all.
Yeah.
It felt like Dune in just a way worse way.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there was too much exposition, too much explaining from the queen. Like, be more devious. Do it behind closed doors. Like, let us figure it out through your actions rather than explaining your entire plan, monologuing.
Yeah. What I did like was you didn't really understand why she wanted to become a shapeshifter until the end, realizing that she thought that was the only way that her and Bautista could end up together. And that was a nice little shift, in the story to where you really understood the motives behind that. And then you understood the motives more of the knight.
Yeah.
As it kind of comes around, because you're just like, this is kind of a weird request just in general. Like, why would she want that? And I thought might have been because she's having a baby with him, that she thinks the baby is going to be a freaking werewolf. And so because the baby's going to be a werewolf, like, she needs to be one too. But then,
like in Twilight.
But then, how does she not like rationalize when she says, "Oh, I have to take this ability from someone that has it"? How does she not like think that that's going to be the one werewolf that she knows?
Well, I mean, you gotta explain a little bit more when you're making these wishes. Like, you gotta be more precise. Like,
yeah, because she can't refuse you. So like, if you're it's like a Chat GPT prompt.
You've got to be real specific.
You gotta get exactly what you want, and then it's probably gonna get closer to your actual desire.
Yeah.
Like, Chat GPT can't refuse you, but it can give you the worst answer possible.
It can kill you, yes. I do wish that there was more in the beginning that showed... I liked the opening scene. Like, I felt like that was really interesting and really got you into the mood of the movie. But I wish that there was more of us seeing how she gives those wishes in the worst way. How she gives these terrible wishes.
Well, and the fact that she can look into somebody's eyes and create these illusions that are so real to them that they decide to act on them. Why was that never a thing that she could do to
Dave Bautista?
Dave Bautista. Like, I thought that was going to be explained more, where they kind of fall in love in such a dumb way, that I thought maybe because, he falls in love with her because he's like, oh, you're just like me. But she's not just like you. She's not a shapeshifter.
She's way smarter, dude.
She's a witch. But it was like the animal inside of her type thing is like the same as the animal inside of him. But I wanted to see like more of why that, like, was there something that, like, because he was a werewolf, she didn't have power to kind of control him through illusions, or she just decided not to? And with that, why didn't but she did say that like her powers took something from her every time she used them. So maybe that's why she didn't use them as much, because it was like it would eventually kill her if she used it too much.
I think in their final fight scene, she did use it to distract it, because remember he was asking about it. So she did use it, but yeah, I think she chose to use it pretty sparingly. I wish that we could have seen other powers that she had, because just randomly she would have different powers that we didn't know about, and they'd be very impressive. And I'd wonder, why didn't we use that 5 cities ago or whatever? You know?
I mean, the opening scene with her getting out of being hung, I liked, but I didn't like as well. It just seemed like way too simple, you know. And
everything's too easy for Stetson.
Well, and then it like made me think of like a video game, literally at that point where I was like, yes, that could happen in a video game. Yes, like that was simple enough that like if you're starting a video game, that's the first cutscene into it, and then you're starting this storyline.
And then it shows you how to use that power, and then you have to figure out how to use other powers.
Yeah, you're sitting there like getting hung, and then it's like, use your hypnotic power, and like dink, you know, you click X, and then the guy shoots the rope, and then like you do it again for him to shoot the other guy, and then you walk out. You know? And elude all these other people like on the way, and she's like a really, really talented killer. She gets out of there, but it was an interesting film. Yeah,
I do feel like the opening scene was probably one of the stronger scenes, and then the big reveals were interesting. It was a little bit smarter than I thought it was going to be. There were some surprises that came out in the end that I didn't see coming, and I thought with the way that this movie was written that I was going to see how everything was coming, you know? So there were a few surprises.
Yeah. Well, should we get into the final pop?
Let's get into the final pop. How do you feel?
You want me to go first?
Oh, go for it.
This is a tough one for me. I'm going to give this a 2. The reason why I'm giving it a 2 is because I'm seeing this movie through the lens of a video game. And when I'm looking at it through the lens of a video game and thinking about if this had come from a video game that I played, I would have really enjoyed it, I think. Especially if it was like kind of a big universe where this was just part of a grander universe that, you know, you end up seeing a different version of the universe in the movie than you do in the video game.
Yeah.
And I do think that like this world was fun enough to do something like that. But did I really enjoy watching it this time? No, I didn't. You know, so that's where it's hard. I like what they were doing, or I like the idea that they had. I do like some of the shots. I like the cinematography. I do like the design and the colors of this a lot. Very, very dramatic. There's certain choices that I didn't like, but I think a 2 is like good for me for this one.
Yeah, that feels pretty generous.
I think it's generous. If it was just a film and I didn't think of it as a video game, it definitely would not be a 2. It would be less than a 2 for sure.
Yeah. The whole time I just kept pulling all of these parallels to Resident Evil, and I hadn't looked up who the director was, so I didn't know that it was written and directed by the same guy, but it just felt like a Resident Evil, and to me it didn't feel as strong as a Resident Evil movie. So for me, this one's just a 1 star. It had some fun moments and some good surprises, but I don't feel like they really capitalized on that or built enough for that to be a redeeming factor for me. So.
Well, sweet. Well, if you have absolutely nothing to do and you're really, really bored and you like video games,
stream it. Do not spend $30 to go and see it in theaters.
Probably don't spend $30. I will definitely agree with that. Unless you have an unlimited pass or movie pass or something, and you're really bored, I think if you like video games, you probably would enjoy this one a little bit. But.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We want to hear your thoughts. We want people to engage with us and let us know how we're wrong or how we're right. And let us know how you saw this one if anyone ever sees it.
Fight with us in the comments.